super excited to welcome Malory Graham to the show. Thanks, Malory, for joining us. For those of you who don't know you already, Malory, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh dear, you're supposed to do the introduction, Skip.
No, I would much rather you do it. Just, we know where you're from. You're from Seattle, Washington. We know you own Seattle Aikikai, but outside of that, could you tell us a little bit more?
Sure. I started training in Aikido while I was in college, about 20 years old, 1988. Super fun to have this be my 31st year of Aikido. Been running Seattle Aikikai for the last 20 years. More recently, I quit my full-time job running a film school for girls, nonprofit, to solely do running of my dojo, because at the end of the day, I really feel like what we have to offer in Aikido in terms of people getting some agency with their bodies and the art that we have to offer is one of the most important things that I could possibly be offering to the world. So why not just do it full time, make it happen?
That's awesome. Nice. So how many years are you teaching now? Like, would you say?
22 years. Crazy, right?
So Malory and I have been friends for a long time. I mean, we met in the early 90s, I think, when I first went to Seattle, when I went to Bruce's. I think that's when we first met.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've been friends for all that time. So, I mean, I think that was, I don't know, 92, 90.
Yep, you took Ukemi for my Nidon test.
Oh, wow. Did I really?
Yeah, you
That's
did.
Amazing.
At a Florida camp, which is happening right now.
Yes. I actually remember that. Yes. So we've been friends a very, very long time. So I'm excited to have you on. There's a lot of things we want to talk about today, but really just want to pick your brain. And because you have so much experience, and between the four of us, I mean, hell, there's probably like 70, 80 years of running a dojo experience right here, right? Just talking about some different things. Before I get into some topics I wanted to talk about, can you just tell us, like, what made you start a dojo? What pointed you in that direction? A lot of things that we've been talking about lately is like what makes somebody start a dojo, right? What makes them take that leap? How do we get the next generation to maybe have that same kind of intent? I mean, what made you take the leap?
Well, that is a fun question, because I have to say I had no intent of starting a dojo. Unfortunately, my story is that I was practicing. I was a student at a dojo that fell apart. Mm-hmm. And so a bunch of the senior membership left and basically had no other good Aikido that we felt was kind of our lineage that we wanted to follow in our city. So we were like, okay, we have to start our own thing. And in particular, we really wanted to start a dojo with a new model. So we decided to be a not-for-profit dojo with no chief instructor and no hierarchy, because we didn't want any of the traditional trappings or like abuse of power to happen in our dojo. And everyone gave us about 6 months to survive.
Oh, wow.
Right? I mean, collectively run dojo, are you crazy?
Yeah.
So 22 years later, here we are.
Wow. So, John, do you have some questions?
Is that the same location?
No, we've had 2 different locations. I'm sorry, 3 locations if you count the park where we all practiced in our gis on the grass for the first year.
Oh, you definitely count that. That's 100%. John, didn't you have some questions about like a nonprofit?
Yeah, so I run a nonprofit as well, and I was just curious, as I know that's a state-by-state thing. So is Washington pretty amenable to a martial arts studio being a nonprofit designation?
Yeah, absolutely. It is super easy to get a local state, nonprofit designation. And that is actually, in a lot of ways, I'd recommend that for dojos as opposed to going and getting your federal status, which is a lot harder and actually creates a lot more paperwork. And you really only need federal nonprofit status if you are going to be bringing in donations that you want to be tax exempt. But I actually am highly encouraging of dojos to go the nonprofit route. And maybe just to say, nonprofit doesn't mean that you don't make money. So I think oftentimes there are for-profit dojos that are actually nonprofit in that they don't make any profit. but profit dojos designated as nonprofit that actually make a good profit. Depending on the city that you're in, like to me, actually being a nonprofit dojo in a very liberal Seattle city actually is a huge benefit. My parents come in and they love it. They love that they are not signing their kids up for a, kind of a taekwondo karate, mill kind of thing. And they're like, wow, you're a nonprofit, you give back to the community. So it's actually a really strong kind of branding selling point for me.
Yeah, that was my second question. Just like
I think that's actually really interesting. Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Yeah, like what benefits do we get out of being a nonprofit? And I like that your members probably like that a lot.
And even if your dojo isn't a nonprofit, like you can have a for-profit dojo, but also benefit by doing kind of like charity nonprofit events, in particular, like having all the members go clean up, the neighborhood that you are living in, or to do some sort of special class where you donate the funds to a kids charity. Like it's a really good, community thing for people to feel like they are participating in something bigger than just, someone's, kind of private business.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your structure, Glenn?
We're a for-profit dojo. I remember when I first moved to Arizona, I did start a not-for-profit. The legality and the taxes and income tax associated with that for me, and I don't know if it was in Arizona in particular or not, tended to be a lot more expensive than doing a LLC profit style dojo.
Is that so you are now? Are you an LLC now?
We are an LLC now, yes. So I don't know if that is, Mallory, do you see that? Because I understand from not profit income tax, so that is a little bit more involved, no?
Not on the state level, at least in Seattle, for sure. Okay. There's definitely more paperwork for your federal tax filings annually.
Okay. And so when I was out weighing the cost of doing those taxes, and maybe this was at the beginning because I had less members, it didn't pan out because of the cost difference. But I think the benefits, like you're stating, as a nonprofit, giving back and all that definitely could be very beneficial in how you're perceived and how you give and all that, for sure.
So, not that talking about taxes isn't really exciting, but can we move this on? So, so I saw something last night and it popped up, and then I tried to find it today and I couldn't find it. So maybe you guys saw this, but I would love to, I have the three of you here. We have Seattle, right? We have Scottsdale, we have Denton, we have Jersey, and I'm just trying to I would love to get the opinion of, the three of you. I saw something last night came up and it said, how is the popularity of Aikido? Anybody see this post? So the question came up is how's the popularity of Aikido? So I looked at it and there was 84 responses to this, and it was, I'm not going to mention the forum or the page or anything, but the word I kept seeing was dying. I have a club, I'm closing it. I have to downsize. I have to do this. I have to do that. This is a topic that keeps popping up. Now, interesting enough, I actually tried to go back in and find it this morning, and it looks like the post is either gone or I can't find it. Whatever. That seems to happen a lot, right? So anytime something gets a little controversial, I feel like it disappears. But I would love to pick the three of your brains and just say, what's your opinion on that? And, I'm not saying we're going to answer anything. I want to hear from each of you, not necessarily from how you feel with your dojo, but just, from the people you see, the seminars you go to, just from doing this for so many years. I mean, what's your opinion? How do you think the health of the art is right now?
I'm going to throw out that, there's your kind of your general sense of when you go to seminars, and it's really pretty clear that we are aging, in a population. Mm-hmm. We go to seminars and there are a ton of black belts, very few beginners. But then to cite again, I know you guys have talked about this, but the Aikido Journal research where the data shows it. And literally to look at a 90% drop rate, in the last 3 years in terms of interest in Aikido, that's shocking and alarming. And I think it's a real call that we cannot continue what we're doing in terms of how we run our dojos. if we want to be part of a bigger macrocosm for Aikido. And strikingly, with that Aikido journal thing, the one blip where they saw interest go up in Aikido was in, I can't remember the year, but anyone remember what it corresponded to?
Is it like Seagal or
Seagal
something?
movie release or something?
No,
No.
study was done after Seagal. There was another blip that happened more recently.
No. What was it?
Walking Dead.
No.
Oh,
Well,
that's-
that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
Joe work and all.
Yep.
Right.
And
So
funny because that's what was coming up in this post is people are like, oh, we need more Aikido in movies. Oh, and I'm like, that's great, but that's not an answer. In my opinion, I don't think that's going to fix things. Having a quick, fast surge of popularity for half a minute isn't going to change the art. But what do you guys think, John and Glenn? What's your take on it?
Well, personally, I don't think that it's dying. I just think that, and that was your question, is the popularity dying? More so the quality of the art in how it's perceived, I think, is becoming worse. Obviously the numbers are showing that the interest and the numbers of enrollment is dropping and aging, but I think the quality of the art is also, and that's where I think needs to be renewed, refreshed, and that will hopefully help improve enrollment and interest in dojos as well. So, I think it has to start with the perception of the art that we promote and that we put out there.
Okay, but do you really feel like if you had, the best instructor out there, right? And it's very possible they could have a failing dojo, right?
Absolutely, but that's what gets back to some of our other talks about marketing, the proper marketing, and what message we're putting out there for our dojo and for the type of art that we're putting out. If we are putting anything on it, how many dojos don't really have a strong message online and target and marketing and all those things that we talked about with social media?
What do you think, John?
I think Glenn kind of hit on two problems, I think they work together. I think the quality of instruction is really important because I think I don't say we all agree. I don't know everyone's opinion, but the quality isn't sometimes what it should be or could be. If you have that quality, and I'll use the word coaching just as a more layman's term, then you'll tend to have people who walk in the door and want to be there because they'll have that person. And if they want to be there, they're going to tell other people that they know, hey, you need to be here. And I think our biggest catch is the people right in front of us. And marketing is important. I think you need to have that veneer, the website and the social media to represent yourself outside, but it really starts indoors. And I think that the distillation of the art over time has just been problematic. And maybe that's another conversation, but there needs to be some more, I'm not looking for the right word here, maybe some more teeth to what we're doing technically. I think that would draw more people.
I'm going to throw out something too, because I actually think two different models need to coexist. Like I have definitely heard folks who are like, oh my God, we need the quality of instruction to just be super good and really effective Aikido. And people are saying things like, have a dojo where there's actually no waiting room for people to actually be welcomed because we really just want serious students, who are basically going to feel welcome, but are just going to sit out in the rain until invite them in to train.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the only person we really want to be training. So there's that model, and oh my God, I love that model exists. It's not going to be my model because I actually want to run a dojo that's successful. But then the other model is how do we create a successful dojo where a lot of people are walking in? Not everyone's going to want to stick with it, right? But we want to be welcoming. We want to be able to call people by their first names. We want to have this idea of teaching to people, not just teaching techniques. No one's walking into your dojo actually to learn Ikkyo. They're looking for something bigger that they want to be a part of. So does that then bring the quality of Aikido down? I don't think so. But I have to say, I think we need both of those models of very welcoming Aikido that brings a lot of people in, and also have those extreme experiences where there's a little bit more intensity and crazy, sit out in the rain challenge as well.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, here's the thing is we could have great quality, but if we're not getting people to even walk in, then who cares? Like you'll be the best person by yourself in a room. So what I see is that for one, you have this public perception of what's going on, of what we do, which is very confusing, completely confusing to the average person. If you start bringing up Aikido, there's already preconceptions. But then to getting them to just give you a chance to either get on the phone, get on your website, drop you an email, or come in the door, and then to make sure that they're seeing the right product. And I know that sounds, the word product probably skeeves people out, but the fact is, we're in a service industry, and our product is our service or our teaching, right? We had a question. We had one question come through for you, which I thought was interesting. It was, I don't know if you guys saw it. It was, who will step up and I'm not doing a service, but who will step up for the quality of Aikido without making things, without it being all about money for Aikido, right? Which that comment I would love to talk to you guys about because the times of money being a dirty word kind of have to end if people are going to continue to open dojos. And there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, about someone trying to make a living or even just get paid for their service to trying to run a dojo. And I think whether you're a nonprofit or a for-profit LLC, whatever it is, if we can't say to these 20-year-olds, hey, look, don't open a dojo because you're going to starve, you're not going to be able to make a living. Take it to a club somewhere. Now we're going backwards, right? Where is the art going to continue to go? So my question to you guys is, for one, is there anything wrong with a financial aspect to what we do? I mean, does that hurt the art, do you think? And for two, what would you guys say to a 20-year-old, 25-year-old maybe? I think I was 25 when I first partnered up the first time. What would you say to that person of why they should or maybe shouldn't open a dojo? Malory, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to say money is life energy, right? So it's about where we kind of put our energy and our efforts. So obviously we need resources to run dojos. I think it's also a great thing to figure out how to have your dojos, bring in a good income, but also be able to say, hey, we provide scholarships to anyone who needs it, so that they can train without financial barrier. I think that's a critical thing. I have to tell you, we've been doing that for our 25 years of existence, and I'm shocked that very few people take advantage of it. But I think it's really important to put it out there so people don't feel like there are financial barriers, but also absolutely knowing that money is what makes the dojo work. We also, like every year, we do an annual fundraiser to really support the projects that we want to see in the dojo. So we're directly not only asking people to pay their dues, we're asking them to actually give us extra money. So yeah, money's a good thing at my dojo.
It's not evil, right? I mean, if it wasn't for money, none of us would probably be able to do what we do and provide the service that we provide. I mean, you all have beautiful dojos, right? I've seen pictures or I've been to your dojos. What would that look like without finances, right? What would that look like if we weren't able to put that back into the dojo and weren't able to put that into maybe the instructors, even the quality of the instructors? I mean, all my kids' instructors are paid. It's like they don't do it for free. I pay every one of them. They get a paycheck every week. I can't provide that service if I don't have finances to do that. So, and I'm providing careers for them. A lot of them have another path and they're like, hey, I'd like to do this part-time, but I want to take it beyond volunteering, right? It's great to have volunteers. That's awesome. But for my business structure, I changed that years ago because I wanted to try and give back to them. So I think it's all what we do with the finances, right? I think that's a big part of it. What do you guys think?
Well, I think that links back to what Malory was saying earlier about creating a culture inside the dojo that brings everyone together, and that may include finances as well. I, like you, Skip, started letting people assist with my kids program that were some of my kids, and I pay them. And so they've come up the ranks, and now they're giving back, and they're being rewarded for that. So it's just this synergy that just kind of goes throughout the dojo.
Glenn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you said. So I
good answer.
I wholeheartedly feel, we talked about the one half of getting members in, but definitely how do we keep them? financially, they know that the dojo and it has to be supported. And, to have, if those of us who have seminars and invite people, that takes extra funds. Yeah, I've never had it an issue. And I think students know that if they have financial issues where they can't make it or they can't come in, that dues are on hold or dues are suspended, or what can they pay, if at all. So that that message, I think, then goes through the membership, through them talking, or through the years of knowing that could happen. And I think that changes the genre of the dojo and the energy in the dojo, knowing that it's not about just making money, and that the instructor truly cares about teaching and about helping the students grow. And that message is an important one to help build a strong community in your dojo.
And I want to add something to that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut in, but I want to just throw a shout out to my other teacher, Bob Mason, who was very, very loyal to me taking over my dojo, and supported us financially for a little while too, because I literally had one other student, or my buddy, it wasn't my student, it was my partner, Jeff, helped us out for a little while. So we had kind of a mentorship there. And I think that if we talk to people about wanting to start their own dojo, that we need to support them in a lot of ways. We need to make sure that we're coming to their dojo and maybe running weekend seminars at first. And if it's financially helping them, may not be everything, but a little bit goes a long way.
On that note, I love that, John, too, because I think that if we're looking at what could be the benefit of being part of a bigger organization that houses your dojo, like in an organization putting it out there that we want to support young people opening up dojos. And in fact, we're going to put our money where our mouth is and have a fund that you can apply to get like an initial loan to buy your mats, or to create a fund to support you doing your first seminar if you don't think that you're going to be able to make money on the instructor coming in. So the idea of organizations that can actually really help with that kind of initial funding, because it is hard when you're first starting out, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, did any of you have any experience, that you felt like set you up to run a dojo? No answer needed. So my thing over the years has always been, we've all learned the hard way. And I don't know about you guys, but I've made more mistakes and had more failures than successes. And it's been a big part of my, education and just running a dojo. And I think that's also part of it. What discourages some people is they don't want to go through that. And honestly, I don't blame them. Like, who would want to go through that? If we're talking about a profession, or even a part-time profession, to a younger person right now, what's our sales pitch? Okay, so you're going to be poor. You're not going to eat real well. Nobody's going to tell you how to do this. You're going to have to figure it out along the way. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, and it might not work out. That's a hard sell. So, I guess what we're saying is, to a younger person listening, is resources a way? Like, how would what would you tell the 22 or 25-year-old version of yourself right now? Would you say open a dojo? Would you say, hey, don't? Would you change anything about that? Especially in today's, the way it is now, not the way it was 20 years ago, but the way it is right now, which is a very, very different market than it was when we all started our dojos.
Well, I'll ask, because what just comes to mind when you say that is society, the needs of the society are a little bit different now. So, I think martial arts, self-defense, the physicality of that, I think, was a little bit more pronounced in the earlier years of the Bruce Lees and the other, martial art figures. And now the way society is, they're looking for more. You hear more of the buzzwords of peace of mind and relaxation and better focus. And not that it wasn't there before, I think, but the emphasis is shifted now. And so, the message you put out has to be a little bit different, if that answers your question.
Pretty damn close, I guess. I don't know. I'll take it. I'm not.
I'd also say too, like, instead of giving the advice to a 22-year-old to go start their own dojo, like, we are also looking at a ton of dojos that are being run by people in their 60s and 70s now, who need to be doing succession planning, right?
Yeah.
have people start
Yes.
from scratch. Like older people like us who are running dojos like need to be going, I know, who can we start tapping on the shoulder to mentor, to kind of bring up, to be taking over our dojos? And how do we really give them the space and have, even though they might be not the most senior person around, to start giving them classes to teach and mentoring that generation for sure.
So to piggyback off that, because one of my goals that I put in front of my membership about a year ago is I said, hey, we need another dojo. And I didn't mean I want another dojo. I mean, we need another dojo linked to us that we helped create. And they all kind of looked at me like I was crazy. But I have a good handful, half a dozen high schoolers that are, one of them for sure will test for black belt before he goes to college. And I tell these young kids, I say, hey, when you go to college, if you want to start an Aikido club, because that's what I did in college, I will come to your college and I will do that weekend seminar for you. I want to be there to help you with that club. Now, after that club, they're going to move somewhere. So now they've already had practical experience running a college club. They had to learn some leadership because they're going to have to go through bureaucracy through the university, and they still have me as their backup. So that's kind of where I want to take it. And I feel like I have a good half dozen students right now that maybe can do that. And even if just one or two of them takes that opportunity, then I need to be there to support them. And the dojo needs to be there to support them.
Yeah, I love it.
I love that idea that you had, Mallory, about just, making room for people in dojos that have been around a long time. What's their plan? What's their grand plan going forward? I don't know if everybody has one, but we've all seen things happen to dojos that have been around for a long time that have just shut their doors and it's been a crime. Or you've seen instructors just not have enough students and close. And that was one of the things that was coming up. I don't know. Did you see that Birankai posting about, they had a great posting about the aging demographic of Aikido and everything. I saw it last night. It actually came up in my feed. And it was something like 82% was in the aging demographic on the mat at a camp. And it's just like, but that, I mean, none of that shocks any of us, right? We're all like, yeah, that sounds probably about right. We've talked about this in other podcasts that when you walk in a dojo and see everyone in a black belt or a hakama, that's not a good thing. That's a bad thing. It means there's no new life on the mat. So maybe it's not that younger person opening their own dojo. Maybe it's trying to become a successor. But if the art's going to grow, I do feel like we do have to try and have people that want to go into that field, say that, yes, I love it. Like all of us did, and say, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I don't want to just train. I want to actually teach. I want to contribute. I want to try and grow it. And it feels like there's a void there for sure. I think we all agree. But I mean, how do you fill it? Like, I mean, what's the answer? Glenn, you seem to have all the answers.
Yeah, well, like all of you, I'm searching for it too. I'm revamping my whole social media presence and my website, and and also thinking very intently about internally, like many of the topics that Mallory even spoke on. About how you conduct and treat your members once they're there. So getting them is one thing, keeping them is completely another, and building that community within is so critical. And I don't know if that is the issue. We're not getting members, or we're not keeping members.
Mallory.
I was going to say, I just heard a great story that made me rethink about who I have teaching at my dojo or who I have filling in. And it was something Charlie McGinnis said from Aikido of Cincinnati. That dojo's got like one of the highest populations of fifth, sixth dan, practitioners in the country. And he had a young woman who was like a Nidan fill in for him. And she was like, oh, no, I can't possibly be teaching class. I'm not qualified, whatever. And he said, absolutely, you are teaching class, because guess what? We got more members signing up after you taught that one class last month than any of my other instructors. So I am putting you on the roster. Like,
how cool is that? I love that.
we feel like, and it's tough because we need to respect, all of our elders and the people who are more senior, and you feel like they really should be the ones kind of given those opportunities in a dojo. And yes, they should. However, I think we're missing a huge opportunity in terms of not necessarily really bringing up a younger generation because they're kind of stalled. There's that glass ceiling because there's so many people who are senior ahead of them. But I think we need to jump them up a bit.